first three lectures, we completed the learning outcome number 1, and today we will be starting with LO2. Most probably, we will be completing 2.1 and the start of LO2 because it's lengthy. And these are mostly the acts which are backed by UK, and you cannot do changes in it. These are very straightforward and according to the environment, but suitable for the organizations only. Understand how legislation, regulation, and guidance impact on the sustainability of organizations. So first of all, I'll brief you from slide 5 that what these three things mean. And we're going to see the impact from assessment criteria 2.1 of these things. Legislation. Formal laws passed by a governmental body setting the rules that organizations must follow. For example, including the environmental laws on emission, labor laws, and the corporate governance standards. So legislations are the rules and regulations, laws, frameworks, which we need to follow no matter what. And these are made by the governmental bodies, agencies, authorities, which are backed by the governments. A local person or a layman cannot direct you for the legislation. There are certain certifications which we need to first do and approve by the governmental bodies. Regulation, specific rules or the standards created by the governmental or regulatory bodies like the Environmental Protection Agency to implement and enforce legislation. Regulations provide the specifics of how organizations should comply with the law. Why regulation is slightly different from legislation? Because in an industry, a volatile industry, we are having different sectors of organization. One is expert in an XYZ making a product, and the ABC is expert in something else. So rules and regulation, that is specific legislation, is going to be different for every organization. And these are made by the government, which every organization, according to their likes and dislikes, follow. Guidance. Recommendations of the best practices issued by the professional bodies, industry groups, or governmental agencies to help organizations improve the practices voluntarily. While not legally binding, guidance often shapes industry standards and informs the organizational policies. Guidance is, again, the same thing. The rules and regulations and the legislation which we are going to follow in an organization, we need a guidance as well, a pathway through which we are going to walk on it and achieve the goals for the sustainability factor and the other factors as well. You need to get an admission into an XYZ university, and obviously you are going to go to first at the admission office, take the information regarding different disciplines, fee structure, timings, and everything, and then you're going to opt for it or not.
Ma'am, can you repeat once again? Guidance.
Guidance is something when we're directing a person or specific organization so that they can follow that specific rules and regulation legislation properly. That is why I give the example as well that you need to take an admission if you want to. Any of the organization, you're going to first search the protocol for it. That is what is the stated process and methods and modes through which you are going to take an admission. That is what a guidance is. A guide. Just like a guide.
Ma'am, yes, ma'am. So, ma'am, legislation and regulation, you have mentioned about it, which is legislation is basically rules and regulations, but not like as how regulations are. Because in regulation, meaning is like there are different sectors which is definitely needed a specific rules and regulations, as you have mentioned earlier.
This
So
is
even legislation is like legislation is also the same as the regulation, or it's quite different from that, because they said for the legislation is like you have to must follow the rules, but for the regulation one is everything like according to the law.
Exactly. The question which you have asked, you have given the answer by your own self.
Oh,
there is only
no,
one
I'm just saying like if it's correct, like if it's correct or not. First, my question was about the legislation. Yeah.
Your concept is right. You have understood it correctly, that there is only one slight difference between both of them. Legislation is for all, for every sector, and regulation is for specific sectors. When we actually divide different sections, different departments, every rule changes accordingly. Rule stays there, but it is changed according to the specification of the organization. how they want to work, how they are working. Assessment criteria 2.1 describe the effects and impacts. They are kind of substitutional words. So we are going to study that of the legislation, regulation, and guidance on the sustainability of an organization. Now, they didn't ask us to name a specific organization, so it is going to be general. All the regulations, legislations, and the guide, which we are going to study now, they are all from your indicative content. And the country they have given us is of the UK. Describe means provide an extended range of detailed factual information about the topic or item in a logical way. Again, the question states itself that everything is pre-packed. I cannot change the act and the legislation, but we can understand it the way we want to. Easier manner. The effects of legislation, regulation, and guidance on the sustainability of organizations are significant. They're important. They have a very important prior, as these frameworks guide responsible practices that reduce environmental impact, protect stakeholders, and promote economic stability, even the social stability as well. So all these things, legislation, regulation, guidance, they are important for the organization to strive. But again, they do have some effects. They do have the impact as well on each and every entity which is inculcating while making the decision making, regardless of sustainability here. The first one is the Environment Act 2021. These are all in the same sequence, the way they are in the indicative content. This UK Act aims to provide the improvement in the air quality, water management, and waste control, mandating biodiversity net gains in the development project. So now the act, which is in front of you, the Environment Act, the latest one is 2021. It is not working on only one single agenda or one prior sector. It is working on the air as well, water as well, and waste as well. Effect. Organization must implement more sustainable practices such as reducing the wastage and managing resources responsibly. For instance, construction companies now have to design projects that enhance biodiversity, that is more towards the greener and sustainable manner, benefiting the ecosystem and aligning with the Sustainable Development Goals, that is the 17 SDGs. We need to keep those in mind as well while we are going to construct new buildings. This is the act passed by the UK government. The second one is the UK Companies Act. Now, even these acts, by their name, these are the legislation, these are the laws, but they are differentiated according to the regulation side, according to the company, according to the interest. It requires directors to act in a way that promotes the company's success, considering the impact of operations on the environment, that is, the daily activities going in the organization, employees, and the community. Because these two, the environment, the employees, have a proper impact on the organization when we are talking about the factor sustainability. What's the effect? Directors, that is the entrepreneur CEOs, are legally bound to consider sustainable practices in the business decisions, enhancing the company's social and environmental accountability because they are accountable for the question asked from the society. With that, they need to cater the environment as well. And according to UK, when it comes to environment, we are going to talk about the quality of air, management of the water, and the control wastage as well. This is the responsibility of the heads. Companies like Marks and Spencer prioritize sustainable sourcing to improve their brand reputation and meet the Act's requirement. And that's true. Everyone is working hard, but there are significant organizations which are actually quite lethal there. Audit reform in the European Union 2014. EU European Union, it enhances the audit quality, that is of the check and balance of budgeting and accounts, finance, and transparency to protect the public interest, specifically in the large organization. With checking of the accountability of the accounts and audit, we are going to work on the transparency, that is the opaqueness of the public interest, because it is very easy to make fool out of the consumers due to the products. We are showing them something else, but the quality which we are giving them is not up to the mark, or what they are paying to us, it's not up to the standard. Many of the producers and organizations are doing this. Effect, it requires greater transparency, that is transparency, and reporting on sustainability metrics. Again, the 17 SDGs, with that, we have certain goals through which we achieve them or we try to achieve them, making it easy to stakeholders to assess an organization's commitment to sustainability. Now, due to those metrics, the CEOs and the heads of the organization, they are able to measure the health of their organization when they are looking at the factor of sustainability, whether they are working under the 17 SDGs or any one of them is one of the factor of it is they can get it achieved or not. This reform has led the companies like Unilever to disclose their environmental and social impacts in the financial reports because they were heavily investing their amount on the sustainability factor and being sustainable, releasing the sustainability programs around the globe. What they did, they added the section into their report as well, so that it is shown to the public as well that how much concerned they are. This is their transparency as well. Then we have Employment Rights Act 1996. Protects employee rights. That is, whatever the rights are when we are signing our agreement, we need to read the job specification and the JD description both. They're very important for us, including the fair treatment, that is equilibriumized, safe working condition, better working environment, and equal pay. That is, you're not going to disseminate it, or there is not going to be any sort of discrimination between male or female regarding the pay scale. Because both of you, whether you're not working as hard as the men, um, again, you have the right to get the full payment. Effect, promotes social sustainability by ensuring the ethical treatment of employees, which enhances productivity and organizational reputation. When you're going to follow the cultural norms with that exact treatment, which is to be followed and accepted by the employees of an organization, then you're going to inculcate more. The productivity, the employability scale is going to be high. Then the Act influences companies like John Lewis, which is known for its fair employee policies, contributing to high employee satisfaction and sustainability in the workforce. So this company is actually working on the employment right. It's not like one company. There are many of the organizations, but this is actually a best example according to the state country UK. That is why it is given to us. Environmental Impact Assessment EIA 2017. It requires assessments, that is, check and balance for the large projects. That is, again, this is going to be for the large corporation and the multinational to predict the environmental effects and proposing mitigating measures. Again, we are going to consider the water, wastage in it. Why? Because we are working on the effects of the environment, of the decisions which we take for the large projects. They come with a big cost. Cost is not a sense of money, cost is a disadvantage. And proposing the mitigating measures, that is the risk associated with those conditions which we are going to take when we are going to opt for the project, we can eliminate or we can try to reduce it. This is least we can do. It helps the companies to proactively plan projects that minimizes environmental harm, protecting ecosystem, and reducing the resource depletion. Now, what happens when you are trying to mitigate risk, you are going to take the proactive measures. You know that if this problem occurs or there is a slight issue, you can curb it, you can solve it, you can take over control. For instance, major projects by HS2, that is high speed to rail, included EIAs, that is environmental impact assessment, to minimize the habitat disruption and water usage. What they did was they were able to reduce the deforestation factor. In this way, they were able to save the species living at that habitat, and with that, the water usage was reduced too. They use such techniques. We have separately the Water Resources Act 1991. Regulates the use and conservation of the water resources. Just like we have moved to solar energy, Japan and Korea, they are already using the potable water. It's kind of bubble. It's a kind of a bubble, just like a swapping bubble. You can just have it in the mouth and you would feel like you had drink a full cup of water. So they're working on the scarcity factor because water is quite scarce. As we compare to 90s and 80s, we used to have abundance of water, but nowadays it's been literally an asset. To have a clean, fresh water, we pay for it, and then we do get it. Effects ensures organization, especially in the agriculture and manufacturing, managing the water usage responsibly, reducing the waste, and protecting the local water supplies. If we are more into the traditional methods of farming, back at the time and nowadays as well in the developing nation, the usage of water is quite high. And it is not even required the way they are using it by installing tube wells and so many other methods, the old conventional methods too. They're actually using over water, which is not required, and they're wasting it. Beveraging companies, the one which make different sodas, like Coca-Cola, UK have adapted the processes to reduce the water waste in compliance with this act. Due to this act, when it came in being, they made their policy according to this act. That is the Water Resources 1991 Act. And now they are curbing the excess usage of water in their drinks and stuff. I don't know from how they're making and satisfying the large population, but this is how things are going on. Control of pollution, that is oil storage in England, regulations 2001. Before that, even in Pakistan, we are facing a lot of air pollution, smog all the time. That is the bad air quality instinct. Lahore is at the worst condition, but now the Islamabad too is having smog, a light smog, but it is making us sick. In the developed nations, we have proper
Ma'am,
acts.
even for
Yeah.
sorry, ma'am, even for noise pollution as well, some countries are there for noise pollution as well. Dust
Yeah.
pollution, noise pollution.
Specifically in the developing nation, Rosanna, in the development, even you are not going to use the horn, which are in the cars, just
Yes.
unnecessarily. But if I talk about my country, because I haven't visited Bangladesh yet, uh,
Same, our country is also the same
first,
thing, ma'am. Our country is also the same as
and
Pakistan.
so they're
Horn.
always using horn. There is no concept of carpooling. The smog, the air pollution, like it's literally worse. Even I have listened that people in Lahore, the government there, they have declared a remote work and remote schooling as well. That is being online, everything. The quality is that much bad right now. Even the artificial rain, I don't know, they said the government they are going to test in Rawalpindi first, that is the twins of Islamabad, and then they will see whether to opt for Lahore or not. Because again, it's expensive and it's not easy. Because naturally, we're not having rain at all. We really need it. And this is why we're not having rain. This is it's a fact that it is said even in the Quran as well that when the Allah Subhanahu wa Taala is angry, He does not shower the rain, His blessings on the people. But we people are too responsible for it because we are the cause of global warming. How we can expect the rain to rain over us? So it's literally a bad condition here. But in the developed nation, there's a lot of a control system going on. So it sets standards for the oil storage to prevent spills and environmental pollution. If you have not a proper check and balance, we are not having proper warehouses, we are not having proper roller pins, then what is going to happen? You can literally waste the oil. And oil is a very, you can say, scarce resource. We do a lot of things on it. Like Saudi Arabia is enriched naturally from the oil. Marco. These companies are amalgamated by the people have a proper partnership with the American state because you guys have an abundant of oil, but how to use it? That is the main thing. Effect. It requires companies with oil storage facilities to follow safety protocols, reducing the risk of soil and water pollution. If you're not properly using the measures taken for the storage of the oil, then what will happen? You are going to eradicate the soil as well, and you are going to pollute the water too, because water and oil they cannot mix together. but it is a devastation. Organizations such as farms and factories must invest in secure storage solutions, minimizing the environmental liabilities. That is why to have a lot of loan on the environment, because the way we did it in the past years and the earlier years, we are facing the problems due to it. Factories are not shutting down, no matter what. We are going to put the lockdown for those what do we call that? Everything is going to be shut by 8 or by 6. But we are not closing the factories. We are not encouraging the carpooling. How we can control the problem of the pollution then? Hazardous Waste Regulation 2005. It mandates proper handling, the storage, and disposal of hazardous material. Hazardous is very dangerous, and there are many materials, byproducts, which are not good for our health as well. Effect, it prevents environmental and health hazards, encouraging companies to dispose of the hazardous waste sustainably. Chemical companies, for instance, are required to follow stringent protocols to prevent waste from contaminating the environment. That is, there must be proper catalyst inverter if you're disposing of the waste from the factories so that it does not amalgamate with the or collide with the water in the sea, in the ocean. There must be a proper system to eliminate the risk of the wastage. Clean Air Act 1993. It regulates air pollution to improve air quality. That is, we are going to reduce it and we have to improve it because we are breathing all the time. This is the reason we should go for afforestation as well, planting trees and trees rather than cutting it and disposing it out when making the papers. Organization must adopt measures to control emissions, leading to the cleaner production processes. Automotive manufacturers in the UK, such as Jaguar Land Rover, have implemented the cleaner production process to reduce the emission and comply with the legislation. Now, just to have a proper, power on this app, this company, they actually instilled in their mechanism. And they're quite successful right now because they're the automated manufacturers.
Ma'am, can you repeat once again? I didn't understand that.
Um, what
Clean
you
Air
actually
Act.
understand?
Clean Air Act, because in that just understood, but I didn't understand the effect one. I just normally understood it's about improving air quality, but for the effect ones, I didn't understand what exactly like mention exactly.
Uh, the emission of the carbon dioxide which we produces through the airplane, then car, then the motorbikes, the cycles, everything which is going on the basis of petrol, they are actually releasing the bad gases, which are quite hazardous for humans. So just to curb the carbon dioxide emission, the gas release, we need to go for the afforestation pattern. We need to plant more trees and trees so that we can have clean air and the quality could be collide and we can have an equilibrium. And the examples state that just to make their production more cleaner and excellent, the process only, what they are doing this, making this act in the action. And with that, what they have taken out is that reduce emission. That is, the extra gases are not getting produced out of it and comply with this legislation. They are following this rule. Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
Climate Change Agreement 2006. Voluntary agreements offering the tax benefits in exchange for the energy efficient commitments. Now, there are many organizations which do not pay taxes on time, they are redunding it. That is by buying a painting or just having a little bit of, you can say, collaboration with the government, doing sponsorship. They are actually doing tax evasion. This is the correct term, tax evasion. They're not paying the taxes on time, which is again a bad thing. Now, moving towards climate change agreement, what is tax benefit to it? We will read it in the effect part. It encourages industries like manufacturing to lower the greenhouse gas emission and conserve energy, promoting a low carbon economy. Now, the same thing, due to the excessive production of carbon dioxide, the main motive of the government is to lower the carbon oxide. And for that, what we're doing, we need to do the afforestation process. Why we are more into the greenhouses, that is plantation in a perfect way, because we really want to save the environment. We need to reduce the overconsumption of the energy. This has driven companies in the steel and chemical industries to adopt the energy saving technologies, achieving both cost savings and environmental benefits. Due to the Act, Climate Change Agreement, organizations specifically which are making chemicals for the pharmaceutical organizations and the steel which is used in the construction, making buildings and cars and so many things, they have utilized this act. And by that, what they are doing, the cost which is being used in their daily procedures is reduced. With that, the environment is also getting benefit. Then habitat protection, that is the Wildlife and Countryside Act 1981. It protects the wildlife and natural habitats in the UK, all around the UK. Effect prevents the businesses from causing harm to protected areas and species, encouraging responsible development and land usage. This act influences the developers to conduct biodiversity assessments and respect the protected areas. Now, what it means that all the species which we do not consider are important in the developing nations, it prevents the businesses from causing harm to protected areas and species, encouraging responsible development and the land usage. This act influences developers to conduct the biodiversity assessments and respect the protected areas. In the developing nations and the countries, there, slide 14, we had the acts which were already given by the specifications by the ATHE. UK, for the UK country. Maybe when you're going to offer the assignment class, the acts are going to be different according to the country, state, so you can do the research on it on that in that way. Sources of guidance and regulation, industry bodies provide guidelines and standards, for example, Soil Association, Fair Trade International, for the sustainable practices. Now, what these sources of guidance is? You people have the specification, you people have indicative content, suggested evidence, command verb, instructors, recordings, lectures, everything. What are these? These are the sources of guidance, a kind of references which you have. And for the extra work, what you people do when you are going for the extra depth work in the assignment briefs, conducting the task, you people do your own research as well. Local authorities enforce compliance with the local regulations and can set the additional sustainability requirements. Again, the compliance of law and regulation both are important when we are in a country and we need to develop our locality, the national organizations. Then government organization, bodies like the Environment Agency. These are those agencies, just an example of environment. There are so many other agencies too, NGOs too, which are backed by the governmental bodies, by the government. Offer the guidance on environmental regulation, just like a cultural agency, climate agency, water agency, what they are doing. They are responsible to supply water all over the country. For example, the UK's Climate Change Committee provides guidance to the business on reducing the emission, that is the production of the carbon dioxide and the extra harm chemicals, which are so hazardous for the health of humans, aiding in their alignment with the national climate goals. Again, the way we are discussing all the time, there are goals for the organization, which all the decisions which we need to make according to the objectives of the organization with the decision making. We are going to do that with the acts as well. Whatever the national requirements, the goals are, we need to achieve them with doing changes according to the sector wise for rules and regulations. Then we have last one, that's the influence of pressure groups, social attitudes, and moral issues. These are the definitions as well. Pressure groups, organizations like Greenpeace, not the definition, these are the examples. Pressure groups are those groups, a committee, which is for every organization. If something bad happens to any of the employee, you are not fulfilling the requirement, the worker which is working under your organization, in your organization, then we can go for the labor unions and the pressure group, few of the people are going to meet the CEO or the entrepreneur, and they can discuss the issue. This is the responsibility of all the pressure groups. Social attitudes. Attitudes are in general the way we act, we um, give our response, and it is by the society. Moral issues, all the moral problems related, the cultural issues, ethnicity, religion are going to be in this. Organizations like Greenpeace or the Friends of the Earth influence companies to adopt environmentally friendly practices. Now, this is a general agency, an organization which is welcoming everyone from around the globe to pre-participate in this organization, that's the Greenpeace or Friends. And these the pressure group. If something bad happens to anyone, we can be vocal at that platform. Social attitudes, growing consumer awareness about sustainability pressure companies to align with the green initiatives. Again, social attitudes, how we can change the behavior, the way they respond to the different actions which we are taking as an organization. We can make different social media pages, we can do campaigns, and with that, we can do the awareness. And if something happens, we can inform them. Moral issues, companies are increasingly adopting the corporate social responsibility CSR to align with the ethical values, fostering community support, and improving their brand image. Why every organization is into sustainability, CSR, CRM? Because ultimately, all these factors and instincts are way too important to be more sustainable for the longer period of time if you want to succeed for more than 10 to 20 years and more than that. And with that, you have to work on the reputation of your organization, that is the brand goodwill. And with that, you need to make the consumers, your superintendents, loyal to you, to your product. For example, H&M launched its Conscious collection in response to consumer demand for sustainable fashion, showcasing or how social attitudes influence business practices. Now, they were the one who made their collection quite differently for those people who were more into the this era of the moral issues. Just like now Primark, Next, um, even Mark and Spencer, they have worked on recycled clothing. Why they're doing this? Just to make them aware that we can have the recycled clothes as well, and they are to apparel as well. Concluding the whole assessment criteria 2.1, through legislation, regulation, and guidance, organizations are encouraged or required to adopt sustainable practices that protect the environment, respect the human rights, and contribute to economic stability. Just for the revision purpose, legislation is the law for everyone. Right now, it's an organization, so it's by the organization. But when it comes to regulation, it is according to the industry, according to your organization. What you are making, the law is going to be different, and it's going to be followed and impacted by the government, which we need to follow. Otherwise, heavy fines and penalties are going to be on the head. These frameworks ensure that companies in various industries can contribute to a more sustainable future, that is living for a more period of time, aligning with the public expectations. What is the demand of the consumers? We are only going to make those products. And it all depends on the producer, that how they want to tackle up with the supply and demand. It is in their hand. If they want to go for inefficient, do we call that demand or efficient demand or supply as well, and build long-term resilience, having a good concept of consumer buyers too. That's important. So this was the whole LO2 and assessment criteria 2.1. All the acts powered by the indicative content, nothing is by me. I only get a bit of information into it. That's it. If you have any query, any question, you may ask me right now.